Hello, Flute students. So today we are going to start lesson 4 and we're going to be on page 6. But before we get started in our book with our flute, I want to show you a little bit about the theory we've talked about so far. So here's all the different symbols we've kind of worked over in the first few pages of the book, and some of these are introduced on page 6 that we're going to be looking at today. So turn over there in your book. First, let's take a look at how to read the music on the treble clef staff. So there's the treble clef, which shows this series of notes, and then there's also a bass clef, and that's for lower notes, like let's say for the cello or for left hand of piano or something like that. So the flute plays the series of notes on the treble clef. Okay, so this is the treble clef, and then this is the bass clef down here. So you won't need to read any bass clef music for the flute because the notes are too high. Okay, so starting off right here, we have E, G, B, D, and F on the lines of the staff going from bottom to top. Now, if you remember a phrase, like a mnemonic phrase, if you can remember a phrase in your head, that's going to help you remember which line is which note. So the most common one is every good boy does fine or deserves fudge. But what you can do is you can make up your own phrase that you'll remember easier if you like. So a fun one was Elvis's guitar broke down Friday, or elephants got big dirty feet. Anything that uses those letters in that order you can use to help you remember. And so then if you come across some music and there's some notes on those lines and you're like, I don't know what note that is, then you just say your phrase in order until you get to that line you're on. Like, for example, let's say you have a note here and there's no letters and you're doing every good boy does fine. So every good, and you're on that one, you got boy. Okay, so that's easy to remember. And then eventually, after a few weeks of doing that consistently, I say a few weeks, that's if you're like doing it every single day. So let's say in 6 weeks, then you won't even have to think about your phrase. You'll be able to just know which note is on which line. But that's if you're practicing that every single day. So you can't just like practice once or twice a week and expect yourself to know how to read music in a few weeks. All right, then we have the space notes. So the ones on the spaces are the ones that are not going through a line. So they're in between the lines. So in between the staff on these middle lines here, or middle spaces, we have F-A-C-E. That spells the word face. So that's super easy to remember. All we have to remember is that on either side, there's two different notes that don't go in that word. So we have D on the bottom, D, then face, and then G on the top. D, face, G. Okay, so sometimes we end up getting that reverse and we think G is down here, D is up here, but no, D is on the bottom. Think D for down. D is down low and G is up high. Okay, so keep those in mind, review those every day. They're all marked in your book. I don't think they're put in this order. But there is a chart of notes on page 5, so go over those. All right, now let's go quickly over which symbols these are and what they stand for. So we already know this is the treble clef. That's the series of notes that you're going to be doing for flute. Okay, and then bass clef is for other instruments, but it's important to know that a bass clef exists as well. All right, then we have flats. Now a flat just looks like a B, like a medieval B. But that's a flat, and what it is it lowers the tone. Like let's say we're playing a B. If it says B flat, then that means we're going to lower that tone a half step. So it'll be a different fingering on the flute. And a sharp is going to be a half step up. Okay, so that'll be another different fingering. Okay, and then a natural sign means it has canceled out either a flat or a sharp and we're back to normal. Okay, so that's what that means. That sign basically means go back to normal. So that's the natural sign. Then we have our time signature. 4/4 time is what we're doing as beginners. So we're just going to talk about that real quick. The 4 on top, any number on top of a time signature, the first number stands for how many beats per measure you're going to have. Now, if you're not familiar with what a measure is, make sure you review page 3 in your flute book. That one will show you about measures. Okay, so the top number is how many measures, or how many notes per measure, how many beats per measure. And then the bottom number symbolizes what kind of note gets 1 beat. So the 4 on the bottom symbolizes 1/4 of a whole note. So that would be a quarter note. So the quarter note is what gets 1 beat, like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there would be 4 of those per measure in 4/4 time. So this is a quarter note that gets 1 beat in 4/4 time, and this is a quarter rest. So that's 1 beat of silence in 4/4 time. And then here's the half note. This is what we're learning today. The half note has 2 beats, so it's equivalent in the amount of time as 2 quarter notes. And then this is the equivalent of 2 quarter rests. So this is 2 beats of silence, half note and half rest. Then down here at the bottom, we have a double bar line. That's at the end of our music piece, which shows us that we are finished. And then this is a repeat sign. So the repeat sign has the 2 dots. It looks just like a double bar line, but it has the 2 dots. So that means to repeat again from the beginning. All right, so y'all work on all of those. Make sure to go over those different pages in your book and work on reading music